Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. Thank you for joining us for this webinar session. My name is Candice, and I'll be your host for this webinar. We're excited to have you with us as we explore frictionless multi-service operations and how a unified platform can help streamline both MSP and MPS operations. Today's session will be led by my colleague Marius Engelbrecht, who will share insights into how businesses can simplify their operations and unlock greater value through a single integrated system. As we work through the presentation, please feel free to submit any questions using the chat feature. All questions are anonymous, so don't hesitate to ask anything that comes to mind. If you see a question in the chat that you would also like answered, please give it a thumbs up so we can gauge interest and prioritize accordingly. Following the presentation, we will host a Q&A session where our expert team will answer as many questions as possible. If we're unable to get to your questions during the session, we will follow up with you directly via email afterwards. With that said, I'd like to hand over to Marius to begin today's presentation. Marius, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Is my mic on? Yes, it's on. Thank you for joining us this morning on a webinar on how to help you guys to monitor and to improve your managed print service business. So today I'm going to be talking about why people are wanting to change from a traditional MPS business to add services like telecoms and IT type services to their business alongside the MSP products. And finally, I'll be talking about how we at CO3 Technologies can assist with this journey. So why would we be having this conversation? Well, probably in the last 6 months, maybe 8 months, I've met between 80 and 100 CEOs and business owners in South Africa, the Middle East, and the UK. And many of you are saying the same thing. And to some extent, I think you've been saying the same thing for some time already. So what is the problem that I'm going to discuss in our webinar today? And it's this. We all know to some extent that the managed print service industry is in a pretty mature phase of its business life cycle. So most of you have told me that you recognize this and you're concerned about what could be the impact on your business as and when print volumes start to decline. So in response to this, you've started to formulate plans to address these challenges. So the good news is that the MPS business model has got the ability to leverage your current business infrastructure. And why do I say this? Well, number one, your business has already got a solid technical team that's already mobile and knows your customers. Number two, your business has got a sales team that's got good relationships with your customers, and these people can position new solutions alongside existing solutions to your customers. And thirdly, you've invested in software systems that help your organization to run effectively. And finally, and this is where I believe that the MPS industry has an advantage over the IT industry. And finally, your business has the ability to assist with asset type finance so that your customers can acquire new equipment solutions or business solutions for their companies. So let's summarize this problem. Let's make it small. Firstly, we know that we need to change. Okay. Secondly, we know that we have the desire to change. Okay. Thirdly, we know that we're able to change, right? So if these three statements are all true, then why has this critical evolution struggled to gain traction? So the answer actually lies in the core differences between an MPS company and an IT service company. So the differences are actually subtle to the untrained eye, if I could call it that. But in reality, the differences are quite significant in terms of how they are managed. So what do these differences look like? Well, in an MPS business, the focus of the business is the product. I'm really thinking of major brands like Xerox, Ryco, Kyocera, Minolta, and Epson. The copier or the printer is a pretty expensive and a self-contained high-quality device that, if repaired or connected, will function according to spec and the customer will be happy. So you can And in most cases, you do run this type of business where you simply react to and repair failures. And this methodology works because these failures are relatively infrequent. Okay. Now, here's the difference. In the IT service business, which is called MSP as well, the focus is quite different. The focus here is the service delivery business is a customer satisfaction model as opposed to a product model, because the solutions that we're deploying are smaller, they're cheaper, they're newer, in other words, less stable, they're more fluid, and they function more like an ecosystem than a standalone system. So consequently, there are many reasons that cause the solution to either fail or to appear to fail. So managing this type of service, which is different from an MPS service, is that you need to have a service team that's forward-leaning with more regular and much smaller activities. So the reason I believe that this change struggles to gain traction is because, number one, you need slightly new skills in your workforce. Number two, you need to change your sales approach. Number three, change your service delivery processes. And finally, and most importantly for this conversation, you do need software systems that will support this type of business. So most organizations in this industry are using software systems that cater for print-only or MPS-only type of organizations. CO3 Technologies is actually the first company now to look at creating a solution that caters for all aspects of this type of business by adding IT type and ticketing type functionality to a system like Nucleus. Hopefully on my side, you can see a slide that's come up and basically comparing an MSP type business with an MPS type of business in terms of the modules that are required. So let's look on the top left-hand side. And in an MSP environment or an IT environment, you typically need a tickets and a ticketing type system. Again, this is required because we have a higher number of smaller activities rather than a small number of large activities, which we do on the MPS side. So ticketing is a much more fluid environment, and a ticketing system does that. In the old MPS terminology, in Nucleus and any of the other major systems in the world, you have a customer call section with a call center module. So the difference between them is that the tickets are much smaller and many more tickets per day, whereas on the MPS side, we have fewer tickets that are much bigger tasks, and generally the technician would go to the customer site. The second piece of software required on the MSP side is a system or a function called remote monitoring and management. So on the MPS side, you don't have a directly similar function, except some of the data collectors are starting to give you the ability to manage the device remotely. So that would be the component called remote management. But remote monitoring is something that's fairly infrequently seen in terms of MPS systems, with the exception of some of the data collection systems that provide that information. The third piece of requirement that you have is an asset configuration and management database. So this is an area where on the MPS side, it is particularly strong, as we would refer to that as the customer equipment module. So those two systems are pretty similar, and in most cases, your MPS software can do that job for you. The fourth thing that you require is a knowledge base and documentation to manage your MSP environment, whereas in the MPS side, knowledge base is actually not very commonly used. There is a knowledge base that's been part of Nucleus over the years and BP over the years, but not actually commonly used, because generally, referring back to the equipment, MPS equipment is generally a small number of items that's pretty easy to fix, and guys become experts on fixing that type of equipment. The fifth thing that you would require on the MSP side would be professional services automation. And in the MPS side, that's an area where Nucleus and other systems are particularly strong, which is your procurement module, where you have the ability to procure either serialized or non-serialized items, be they machines or other services or devices. And the last piece of software that you require, where there is a subtle difference, is in terms of the customer portal. On the MSP side, your customer portal is generally more enhanced. allowing the user to, for example, procure services or order services in addition to the traditional things which are found in the MPS side, which is, for example, download statement, look at your service calls, look at the devices that you've got. So that's the start of this journey in terms of us moving from IT type, from MPS only type language into IT type terminology and IT type systems. This is the journey that CO3 has been on over the last couple of years. And so the key that we've identified is it's not so much the components individually that matter, but the integration of those components to each other and into your backend accounting and ERP and inventory management systems. So that's what today's demonstration is about. It's both about the solution that CO3 has created, as well as how that has opened us up to have the ability to integrate Nucleus into the major popular global ticketing systems. So that is the start of our IT readiness journey, and we're going to be discussing, as I said, the Nucleus ticketing system. But again, just to be clear, we have done integration into the likes of Autotask and Kaseya, as well as Enable and some other integrations as well. We'll come back to that a little bit later. So the next part of today's discussion is going to be a demonstration of the Nucleus ticketing system. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can all see the Nucleus ticketing system. So remember here, the emphasis on the system is around looking at your customer service levels, as well as being able to manage your staff with smaller and more interactive type of jobs. So the first thing that I've done is I've logged on to the Nucleus ticketing system as an administrator. So you may have a single administrator for the whole company. You could have an administrator per region. We call that sites in Nucleus. And you could also have an administrator for different business units in Nucleus as well. So the concept would be pretty much the same. We'd just be dividing the picture up in a slightly different way. So as this administrator, and I log into my dashboard, there's 4 pieces of information that really matter to me in terms of managing my service levels to my customers. The first thing on the top left, and I hope you can see this, let me zoom in a little bit, would be all the tasks that require my current attention. So I've got a number of service calls here that are currently in Nucleus where the SLA has been breached, and I can see immediately from there that the item has been breached with a big pink flag on the left-hand side, and I can see that this item has not yet been assigned to anybody. In the second case, I can see that I've got another one that's been breached and it's been assigned to James, and I can reassign it to him, and I can view more information. I'll come back to that a bit later. Down at the bottom here, I've got an item that is a new item for which a call has not yet been created, and I'd be able to click on this item to create a call from here. I'll do that in a second. So this is the work that requires my current attention. On the top right hand side, I've got calls that have been logged that have not yet been assigned. So I can see from here that these items, the first 3 items, are critical. The one at the bottom is medium priority. Those priorities come directly from Nucleus, and it gives me the ability to see what's happening and have the ability to assign these tickets directly from here to a person. On the bottom left-hand side, again, as a forward-leaning service team, I'd like to see who's doing what. In my system, I've only got 2 technicians. I've got James and I've got Marius, and I can see that I've got a number of unassigned calls as well, and I can easily click on that to go and assign those calls. Again, I'll come back to that a bit later. On the bottom right-hand side, I've got a basic glance over my infrastructure. On the left-hand side, I've got IT infrastructure. On the right-hand side, I've got print fleet. And you can see from here that 2 out of our 5 devices are okay, and there are 3 that need attention. Down the bottom here, a basic dashboard that shows me exactly what is the status. And on the far right-hand side, I can see that for these items, a call has been logged, and for the one at the bottom, a call has not yet been logged. The process of logging a call is really, really, really difficult. From here, I click on the log call button, and a call screen opens, and I can put in my customer. I can pull it through from Nucleus directly, and once I've done with that, I can click back onto the dashboard, and you'll see at the bottom the call has actually been logged with very minimal data input, and it appears on my unassigned call section, again giving me the workflow ability to assign this back to somebody and to do it really easily. So this is the first part of the ticketing side, is the ability to easily manage the different tasks and responsibilities that I've got. Let's jump across to, again, as I said earlier, this is a different front end for the Nucleus call center information. So those of you that are familiar with Nucleus will understand that I've got, aside from my dashboard, I've got calls. What is very nice is I have the ability to view exactly who's doing what, and very simple drag and drop assignment to balance the call load between the different technicians that I've got. Okay, and so that would have processed a live call back to Nucleus to update that and to assign that call back to the next technician. You can click on a call to view more information about the call, but let me come back to that in a second. The next thing that you'll know from Nucleus is we have projects. So typically calls are responses to problems, whereas projects are implementations or larger projects where changes are being made to the environment. And again, it's a ticketing technician type front end for the projects module. I won't be spending much time on that. The last section for the admin presentation would be our monitoring side. And I think what matters here is, if you remember back to the slide that I put together, I mentioned that remote monitoring and management is one of the keys of a successful IT organization. So what I would do is, as the service administrator, is I would be looking at this. We call it our single pane of glass, and allows us to see all the different types of equipment that we're monitoring. So what CO3 has done is differently is we have merged IT monitoring and management with print service monitoring and management into a single system. I'll come back to that again in a second. So at the top here, I've got a simple filtering dashboard. Sorry, I can search for a customer, a model, a host name, but at the top I've got some filters, and I can filter for items that are healthy, I can filter for warnings, I can filter for critical, and finally for items that are offline. On the right-hand side, the filter allows me to distinguish between printers, servers, workstations, and network devices. So seeing as though we come from a print background, I'm going to just focus on the print items for now. So you can see quickly the system has removed all the IT equipment from the screen and allows me to have a single and a simple view over all the print devices in the field. And from the screen, I can apply the second filter to identify. I mean, it's easy to see now because there's only 5 printers, but if there's 100 printers, we would want to see what is critical and what is offline. So let's pick this critical printer for now, and let's click on the print status page that we've created within the Nucleus ticketing to see what's going on with the device. So looking at the status page for this device, you'll notice quickly here that I've got information that's being pulled through from the IT and ticketing side, as well as the Nucleus side. Okay, so at the top, I've got a customer called Globex MFP Engineering. The device that they're running is a Canon image runner, and the customer Globex Industries, and it's the engineering department, and it's on the 3rd floor. I can see the flag is critical. I can see that the device was last seen 4 minutes ago. The network protocol is okay, and I can see that the device type is a color MFP. Clicking on the Open Web UI button, this is something that is dependent on your MPS service provider. So for those that are familiar with Three Manager, you'd be clicking on your Open Web UI, and that would take you to the dashboard page for that device on Three Manager and give you the ability to modify some of the settings. You'd have the ability to order toner, and if a call was required, and in this case the call is required, it would flag that the call has already been logged. If you notice that your last seen is more than 4 minutes ago, you can click on the refresh, and it will recall information from the data collectors for you. So let's move into the body of the document. We can see here the system says critical attention is required. The reason is the black and yellow toner are below replacement threshold. The black tone at that level, yellow tone at that level. The support call is open, but a toner order has not yet been placed. So you can see what that some of this information is being created for us using AI solutions, but more about AI when we get to our next webinar later in the year. But some of this information is being produced by a thinking system. Let's come back with a recommended action. It recommends you create a toner order for black and for yellow cartridges. You can click on the create toner order button, which would create the toner order for you, and that will link it to the call that's already been logged, and that gets processed straight through into Nucleus for you. Moving further down, if I have a look at more flag type information, I can see my devices online. I can see my supplies are critical. I can see my usage is pretty high, 80% of the allowance. And I can see that there's support is a green flag because there's currently a call open. We're trying to create a much more user-friendly dashboard so that people can see what's going on. Further down, consumables, you can see we've got black, cyan, magenta, yellow, the exact page count as of 4 minutes ago. And again, it's identified that there's no open toner order, and again, create a toner order directly from here. Moving further down, to click onto the usage and meters, system gives me the number of pages printed this month, gives me mono pages, gives me the contract allowances. It gets pulled through from Nucleus, as you can imagine, as you can understand. The projected month-end print is 13,000, and information about, again, A3, A4, monocolor, all information is pulled through from either the device collector and or Nucleus service. Let's move down to service and workflow. I can see that this device has got one open support call, and I can see that no turn orders. I can see my SLA. I can see the recommendation, and again, gives you an easy mechanism for managing this device. Viewing past calls, this comes directly from Nucleus. We can see from here that prior calls that have been logged are easy to view and easy to find to understand the exact status of this device. Device details, again, all from Nucleus, customer, contact, type, asset tag, serial number, everything is coming through from Nucleus. And then right down the bottom, I'll skip over the network and management, but right down at the bottom, we can see some recent activities. I can see the toners were read, the yellow, alerts were erased, meter reading completed, etc., etc. So it's a very nice, easy screen to see everything from a service perspective in terms of your print device that you are responsible for managing. The same type of functionality would appear if my device was an IT device, but I'll get back to that a bit later. I know most of the customers online today are print customers. Let's just go back here. Basic filters at the top here allow me to view 7 healthy, 2 warning. It's an easy process for viewing exactly what's going on with my data. So that's the first part of Nucleus ticketing completed. I want to move away from the administrator to the technician view of the same information. So just to clarify, the administrator is responsible for watching the environment. The technician is generally going to be a remote technician working from your office, doing repairs on the customer site remotely. And if that repair can't be done, we would only dispatch one of your MPS technicians to the customer if the device cannot be repaired from the office. We're obviously looking to try and save time and travel. When I look at my workbench as a technician, on the top left-hand side, I can see that I've got 3 tasks that I've been working on for 25 hours. Okay, so maybe I should get a warning letter for taking so long, but we did start these calls in the demonstration yesterday. But this information here is reflecting the tickets that I'm working on, and bearing in mind the tickets that we've got in Nucleus are items that are directly linked to a work order, and the work order would sit underneath a call or a project. So I can see, for example, directly I've got these 3 tickets that I'm working on. If I click on the ticket, on the right-hand side, I'll be able to view more information about the ticket. Okay. I'll also be able to view the customer. Now, this information has been pulled through directly from Nucleus service, and I can see my customer contacts. I can see what contracts they've got on the top right-hand side. On the middle here, I can see what devices we have supplied them with. And this is that section called the asset configuration database we spoke about, a firewall, a server, and a laptop. Further down, I can see which equipment has been flagged as faulty by the monitoring systems. And at the bottom, I can see any current or planned projects. Okay. More importantly, though, is once I've looked at the customer, I can actually navigate directly to the ticket as well. So the Nucleus ticketing system has benefited from two things. One is we've spent a lot of time understanding what IT companies need and how they work. But secondly, we've built this ticketing system on top of the Nucleus framework. So what we've got in terms of this framework is, firstly, a conversation on the far left, which means your customer sends an email. If you reply to your customer, your email appears there in a bubble format. Their reply so the entire conversation order trails on the left-hand side. In the middle of the ticket is any actions the technician has taken. So reboot the server, dispatch a technician, do a firmware upgrade, whatever you may do. We're going to type that into the middle section. And on the far right-hand side, some of the functionality from Nucleus coming through, where the person can be given a specific task checklist that requires them to click that checklist to flag that the item has actually been completed. So again, that comes through directly from Nucleus. On the bottom here, we can view ticket details, and we can view which custom, which call it comes from. And the last but not least, I can update the ticket status and change it from new to in progress, on hold, complete. I can change the priority, and I can change the assignment. Right, let's just jump back to the dashboard. Underneath my workbench, I can see as a technician, as an IT technician, or as an office-based support technician, I've got 4 urgent calls that require my attention, and I've got a further 2 open calls that are not urgent that also require my attention. I can, if I want to, click on the resume button, which will move that task from open onto my workbench to go and work on the item from the workbench. So that's a repetition of what I've showed you already. So that's my dashboard. Moving on from there, I can view my calls. We have the ability to view the calls in a Kanban style, as well as a list style. So Kanban is a new type of screen layout that we'd be starting to pull through into the various Nucleus systems. It gives you an easier way for you to see your information in little cards and to have the ability to drag and drop items from one column to another to indicate that the work has either been completed or has been moved to the next status. So, and again, clicking on a call takes you to that same dashboard to go and see what the information is on the call, and again from there through to the ticketing side. Last but not least, as a technician, I can view the projects that are assigned to me, and if I click on any project, I have the ability to draw down into the project and to either see the tasks as a list or as a tree view. Those familiar with the projects module in Nucleus will remember that the projects appear and are stored in a tree view. So my projects are in white, and the little task boxes that I've got are the little gray boxes beneath there. And I have the ability to see exactly what is assigned to me, what is assigned to others, and what is the overall structure of this project. All right, so without any further ado, that's it. We're done on the ticketing side. And just give me 1 second to get back to my notes. So just in conclusion, in terms of today's demonstration, I think it's a case of demonstrating 2 things. One, we understand what is happening in the marketplace, and there's a need for systems that manage IT and print businesses. Okay. But second to that, indication that we've started the journey to help you guys to manage IT and print up environments by either giving you access to the Nucleus ticketing system, which will become a part of the whole of Nucleus, and or the ability to integrate your own ticketing or IT system, which could be the likes of Autotask and Enable, or on the monitoring side, something like Kaseya and some of the others, to connect those back into your Nucleus system for you. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of my demonstration. There's nothing else for me to do. Candice, can I hand over back to you? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marius, for all the insights. Very impressive, and we appreciate the opportunity to see it in action. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us as well, and we'll be happy to assist. We hope you found the session valuable and gained useful insights into streamlining MPS and MSP operations through our platform. Be sure to keep an eye out for our next webinar, where we'll be taking a deep dive into the world of AI and exploring how we're leveraging it to drive innovation and efficiency. Thank you again for your time. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Have a wonderful day further.